Welcome to the Advanced Interview Preparation Program. We thank you for accepting the opportunity to assist our students to prepare and hone their abilities to interview well with employers in a professional and effective fashion. Our goal in this session is to provide specific information so you can conduct phone mock interviews with high-performing students who are interested in careers in banking, trading, insurance, investment banking, and various corporate roles. Providing feedback and assessing their skills is an important component of our process and will be integral in these students attaining their future career goals, so let's get started. When we meet with students, one of the key areas they want to improve on is being effective and confident during an interview. Likewise, employers have seen college students who are not adequately prepared, and those students lose out on great roles as a result. One of the first times a student will face this challenge is during the phone interview, so gaining experience and feedback will contribute greatly to their potential success in the job market. Phone interviews are most commonly used to screen candidates and determine who will be advanced to the second round of interviews. Organizations often screen a far greater number of individuals and will bring in just a few into the office for that in-person interview. So we want our students to be prepared. Phone interviews also present some particular challenges. Not all students are used to talking on the phone, and it's more challenging to create connection with the interviewer as you can't have the opportunity to see each other face to face nor rely on body language or facial expressions. We also have some students for whom English isn't their first language, and talking on the phone can be challenging. We're excited about this program because you bring your experience in interviewing candidates, and it's important for students to get feedback from professionals working out there in the real world. This is a pilot program, and we will be looking to expand this program across all majors in the future. So, we're eager to see how it goes and to get your feedback. This program is open to students majoring in finance, economics, or business, and are sophomores, juniors, or seniors. They must also have a cumulative GPA of 3.5 or higher. Some of them may already have had multiple interviews, and for others, this may be really their first time. So when you're interviewing these students, please be patient. We'll talk about how to give them feedback and how to encourage them to keep practicing these skills later. We've asked students to identify the field they're interested in, and they have the option of sending along a job description if they have a specific position or type of position they're interested in interviewing for. You may ask one or two customized questions based on this aspect. However, the goal is really to help them practice the most common interview questions, things that are really asked in most interviews. You will probably have students sign up for your interview slots who have a variety of professional interests. So, plan your questions with a balance focusing primarily on the common questions and perhaps add a few specific ones based on their area of interest. Prior to the interview, you will receive the student's information and a copy of their resume. In addition, students will identify a field they are interested in and may supply a job description for you to work with. To assist you with the interview, we have provided you with the volunteer interview guide and interview rubric so you can provide specific feedback and assess the student's performance. Students will call you for the interview, so please be sure we have the number you would like us to use for that interview. We'd like you to work with 2 students, so scheduling will clearly be based on your availability. The interviews are approximately 35 minutes, and we do want to keep them to about 35 to 40 minutes in total, especially if you have another student interviewing afterwards. Some organizations even budget only 20 minutes for these phone interviews, so they go by fast. And it's important to give students feedback, especially if they're either taking too much time when responding to the questions or not providing enough detail to fill that time. We think that the introduction between you and the student should take a few minutes, and then it's time to get started. Allocate 15 to 20 minutes for the interview questions. Typically, each response is about 2 to 3 minutes, so you should have enough time for about 4 to 5 questions. We want students to know that they need to have questions ready for the interviewer, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Finally, the last 10 minutes or so should be for you at the end to have a conversation with the student and provide them feedback. So the first question we want you to ask is some version of, "So, tell me about yourself." Sometimes interviewers may ask the person to walk them through the resume, or, "I'd love to hear more about your background." If they send a job description, you may say, "Tell me about yourself and why you're interested in our company or this role." We want the student to have about a 30-second to 1-minute response. We also want them to highlight information that helps explain why they're interested in that job or industry, and to avoid anything too personal in nature. So, For this student, we have an example of someone who's explaining, I'm currently a senior at Lake Forest College. I have spent the last 4 years studying finance, specifically focusing on financial analysis and investment banking. Last summer, I had an opportunity to analyze and research key data as a credentialed analyst for a team of bank examiners to enable them to present the institution's rating to senior management. This really solidified my interest in working in banking. And so, as you can see, this would be appropriate for a student who's interested in working in a career that requires strong analytical and research skills, particularly focused in the world of investment banking. The underlying idea behind these questions is that past behavior is a great predictor of future behavior. So we really want the students to be able to tell a compelling story with enough detail to really explain their skills and capabilities to you, the interviewer. Here are a few examples. There's also a link to several more in your volunteer guide. You can customize questions if you have a job description. For example, if a student sends you one for a job in financial planning, you may ask, tell me about a time you used problem solving and analytical skills to create a positive solution. This provides the opportunity for you to pick up on the skill the employer is seeking and craft a behavior question that's related. One thing to watch for is if you ask a question like, tell me about a time when you worked with a difficult colleague or a time you failed, you want to ensure that the students stay positive and aren't bad-mouthing their former colleagues. They should be able to talk about challenges and failures in an honest way that shows personal growth and what they have learned from the situation. So, you may want to throw one of these questions in to see how they do, especially if you have a student who's really a strong interviewer. We have a method called the STAR method that helps students craft those specific and appropriately detailed response to behavioral-based questions. It begins with the student telling you about the situation. What was going on? Where did it occur? When? And really sort of setting up the context for the rest of their story. Next, the task. They need to describe the challenges they faced, the expectations, what needed to be done, and why. Next, it's the action. What did they specifically do? How did they do it? What tools did they need? The more specific, the better. And then finally, the results. If they can explain to you their accomplishments, what they were recognized for, and can really quantify those results, it'll provide an excellent STAR story. So answering the earlier question of, so tell me about a time you used problem solving and analytical skills to create a positive solution. The answer using the STAR method could be, when I was working as a logistics intern at a large food distribution company last semester, I was brought in to look for ways to uncover savings in their shipping and inventory practices. I was responsible for conducting research and analyzing the transportation and supply chain practices to look for ways to eliminate inefficiencies. There were many moving parts to examine, so I developed a comprehensive review of operational processes in which I discovered several redundant and time-consuming practices. After 2 full days of analysis, I discovered new ways to reduce time, eliminate unnecessary steps, and cut costs, which resulted in a savings of over $50,000. The strength and weakness question can be challenging. To some degree, this does not need to be customized based on the job, but in general, strengths are pretty straightforward. And it's important that they share a specific example to demonstrate their grasp of that skill and how they deliver on it. Weaknesses can be much more challenging, but we do need students to be honest. We want, and employers want, students to be self-aware, meaning they need to have an understanding of what they're good at and areas that they can improve. So as an example of a student answering the weakness question, they might say, I'm a very detail-oriented thinker, which is often a strength. However, sometimes I get too immersed in the details and I'm unable to see the connection to the big picture. In my last internship, I was focusing on conducting an in-depth financial analysis. I worked with a supervisor who was the opposite, a big picture thinker. She really taught me how to keep the overall goals of the project in mind, which helped me understand how to keep the analysis focused on the client's objective. We will ask the students to have up to 3 questions to ask you at the end of the interview. You don't have to have an answer, but they should know having quality questions is important. If they provided a job description, they may ask questions to clarify things written in that description. When you're evaluating the students, we want you to look at a variety of things. We want you to evaluate their enthusiasm. Was it clear they were interested in the opportunity based on their voice and tone? How was their communication? Were they clear, easy to hear? Was their pacing right? What was the quality of the answers? Did they answer the questions you asked appropriately? Did they provide concrete examples? Were you able to get a sense of their skills based on those examples? We ask that you use the rubric we supplied to not only help give feedback, but also to have you assess and grade their performance. The actual total you calculate for this assessment is only meant for us in the Career Advancement Center, so only share your feedback to the student, not the score. The rubric is straightforward and easy to use. I have included a portion of the form here to provide some context. To use the form, simply view each of the competency areas and match your rating to the one that best represents the student's performance. You can add a note or two at the right to help you provide specific feedback at the end of the interview. There's also a blank page at the end to take additional notes. When you're done with the form, simply total your score and send the completed document to me, Joe Shimura, at the email address on the form. So when you start the feedback, I think it's good to begin with a question like, so how do you think you performed? A lot of times students will be harder on themselves than you would have been, but it's good to have them think what they might have done differently or what might have been stronger. Try to be honest, but also be positive and encouraging. Provide specific examples of where they could improve based on your notes. We want you to emphasize the importance of practice and preparation, and that is a skill that can and should be perfected. Also remind them of the importance of researching the company ahead of time before going into the interview. You can also mention there's a virtual mock interview tool that they can use through the Career Advancement Center. They can also do additional mock interviews with their CAC advisor or other Forrester Career Network volunteers. After you have completed your mock interview with the student, please fully complete your scoring with the rubric, total your score at the bottom, and send the document to shimura@lakeforest.edu. This will assist us in helping the student enhance their skills. If you have any questions, you can either consult your phone mock interview volunteer guide or reach out to me, Joe Shimura, at shimura@mx.lakeforest.edu or by calling the office at 847-735-5235. Once again, thanks for your support for our students and Lake Forest College.